Got that audio strolling.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Gettin Cheezy with Van and Jeezy. I'm Van.
And I'm Jeezy.
Let's get right into it. No screwing around this time. We've done enough of that already.
I like screwing around.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but...
We can't screw around even a little bit?
Okay, well, go ahead.
Can we talk about Denny's?
Oh, we haven't talked about Denny's in so long.
We talked about Denny's last week.
That was Denny's in passing. That wasn't, like, real for serious Denny's.
I made grilled cheeseburgers for the first time yesterday in quite a while. They were good. Very good.
Were they Denny's good?
I think they might be good enough that I could have a self-proclaimed Ben Worthless burger.
Mmm.
A homemade Ben Worthless burger.
Reasonably priced, too, I bet.
All the ingredients came from Aldi, so it was very reasonably priced.
I hear they have really good produce, actually.
It's good.
I just can't bring myself to go to two separate grocery stores. Like, it's just too much effort.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm not about to drive my ass to Aldi to get produce and then everywhere else to get other food. Not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you can sometimes find a good substitute, but it's not always the same. Anyway, enough screwing around, Van. We got a show to do.
Let's do news this week. The biggest news probably is Andrew Luck's retirement, which we'll get to later in the show, I promise you. Which we also had a text on the cheese line from Dirty Dan asking some questions.
Cheese line bling.
We will address it later in the episode.
Thanks for texting in.
Contain yourselves, everyone. Hopefully you can stick along for the ride long enough to hear us talk about it.
I'm barely containing myself as it is now. I'm leaking everywhere.
You. All right, so instead, we're going to talk about how Zeke is about to get paid, and there's no numbers out yet, and there hasn't been an official agreement reached yet, but sources say that he's in the Todd Gurley range.
Todd Gurley range.
It's about $14 million a year.
Who do we have to compare to? So Gurley's is 14.375, and they say that Le'Veon Bell's earnings is about 13.125.
Yeah.
At right around 14 milli, it's a good chunk of change. This quote here says, obviously, Elliott believes he should be the highest paid running back in the NFL, and he has a pretty good case. 24 years old, two-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro, led the NFL in rushing twice, 2016, 2018, coming off a season in which he rushed 1,434 yards on 4.7 yards per carry, 77 receptions for 567 yards, 9 total touchdowns.
I mean, all these things are fine, but, like, put him on a team that doesn't have an offensive line and watch him not get shit. What I'm saying is, I don't know if he's worth top tier, number one in the league money. That's all I'm saying.
Who do you rank above him?
I mean...
That's a fucking short list, Van. It's a very short list you've put out so far. Okay, I'll tell you who the number one running backs in the league are right now. Number one, if I had to pick, Alvin Kamara. That dude is a beast. He can run. He can catch. Crazy freak of nature athletic.
He's shifty as fuck. That's his thing.
He's so good. He just so many yards to carry. Probably number two, Saquon Barkley. Can I put him that high?
Man, I keep talking about, the body of work. 1 year does not create it.
For running backs, though, their careers are so short. I want to put Saquon Barkley up there.
Fine.
And then, I don't know, who else do you even consider an elite running back? I mean, Le'Veon Bell hasn't played in a year. I don't even know.
That's the other guy you probably would put up there is Le'Veon Bell, but you don't know how he's going to turn out this year. We're running out of elite running backs. I think the age of having an elite running back is kind of starting to fade. We're more seeing this running back by committee approach, which is good. It works. I just think we're starting to lose, having a bell cow.
Big names that I think of from years past are people like Mark Ingram had a few big years. He's not with the Saints anymore. He could be good. I wouldn't put him up in top 5.
Adrian Peterson, he has flashes last year.
Yeah, he had flashes last year.
If he can stop spending all that money on fucking birthday parties with elephants and snakes and fucking having 17 kids.
David Johnson from the Cardinals, I'm not even sure if is he playing this year?
This is going to make me feel really old, but look back 20 years ago. We're kids. We're still practically shitting in our diapers. But you had the feature back. You had Marshall Faulk. You had Eddie George. You had Barry Sanders. You had guys
Terrell
like that.
Davis.
Terrell
Emmitt
Davis.
Smith.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You had these guys that were like, this dude is gonna smash your entire fucking team's teeth in. This one guy,
And they did it for a handful of years.
and it's not that way anymore.
It's just not.
Now, what is messed up though, I will say Zeke is up there. He's a good running back. What sucks for him though is he's currently still on his rookie contract, which is paying him $3.85 million a year.
I mean, it's a good chunk of change. It's not.
I mean, if I got paid $3.85 million a year, you're not hearing me complain.
But the odds of your job giving you a lifetime of pain,
I mean, we're talking physical or mental?
I mean, both.
I'm not going to say those chances are very high.
For Zeke and all the NFL, significantly higher. Especially the physical pain. I don't know the emotional pain, there's obviously a lot of baggage when you're carrying physical pain, so.
Okay, well, that's fine and everything, but throwing more money at it doesn't fix the problem.
No, I'm not saying it fixes the problem, but it's compensation.
Compensation so that you can have it sit in a fucking bank account while your brain turns to mush. It's always been a thing of mine that, like, these NFL salaries are so extravagant sometimes that, like, guys being upset and not signing a deal over, like, $5 million. Well, you're already getting paid $50 over the course of this entire contract. What's another $5? Who the fuck cares?
I don't know. Some of it's for pride, you know?
Well,
I don't think it's about the dollars necessarily, but if you think you're the best in the game, then maybe you want to be paid like the best in the game.
well, then maybe you should humble the fuck up.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Zeke, without a doubt, top 3 in the league right now.
If he doesn't have Dak, is he as good?
I think it's okay to say he won't be as good if he's on any team that doesn't have at least a serviceable quarterback. Now, Dak is in the upper half, but I think Zeke could go to any team with a quarterback and offensive line that's in the upper half and be exceptional there.
Do you think Zeke could plug into the Packers game right now and just seamless?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we've got a top quarterback in the league. We've got an O-line that's extremely solid. Yeah, I think he could plug in there and be a machine. We'll see what that offense looks like under Matt LaFleur, but assuming that it's all gravy, should be kicking ass. So here's my bottom line on Zeke. I don't care about $1 or $2 million or being way above all these other players, but he is the person on the block right now needing a new contract. And if I'm him, I think I deserve the highest contract in the game. And you should get it. Why shouldn't he get it? Dallas has to know that if he doesn't get it, that somebody else will give it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, we just saw that play out for Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell has some different shit going on too, though. You know, a lot of drama associated.
If the Dallas Cowboys suddenly try to pull out a franchise tag on him, it could be the same situation.
As we talked about in one of our earlier episodes, the franchise tag really is the fuck you tag.
The continue to work for me against your will at a lower than market rate.
I forget what the actual phrase we used for, but it was really good.
It was. I can't think of it either. Look, I'm going to disagree with you, Van. I think if I'm Zeke...
But I haven't made a statement yet. How can you disagree if I haven't made a final decision?
You said that all these people are pissing and moaning about $5 million or $2 million, and they're going to make $50 million over their contract. I say, fuck that. If you're the best in the game, you got to get paid. And Zeke is amongst the top in the game. He's got to get paid.
This is where I definitely don't envy being a GM because, like, your star players got to get paid. That's fine. But don't forget, there's another 52 dudes on that team that got to get paid too.
I feel especially certain that the running backs have to get paid. Because unlike other positions, running backs have notoriously short careers.
Yeah.
They take a pounding. They get these leg injuries that can be very debilitating for long periods of time where they can't work. It's a serious consideration. At that position, I feel confident that if you're the top, you need to get paid. You got to get paid. I had a discussion recently with somebody at work. I don't want anyone jumping in and saying, well, they get paid so much, it's so absurd to play a sport. What do people do that's so much more important than play a sport?
Pretty much everything.
Give me a job, any job.
Doctor.
That's an important job. Absolutely, that's an important job. People get sick, you need to care for them. But, like, what do people do when they're not entertained by a sport or a movie or anything? What do they do?
They get really frustrated and kill each other.
Like, entertainment is a form of peace.
Okay, but it most certainly is a stretch to say that they have one of the most important jobs.
So I'm not saying they have one of the most important jobs. I'm just saying that their job is important and that their job has a lot of risk. Like, a garbage man has an important job, and he gets paid above average for a person with his level of skill or her level of skill. Why? Because there's risk. And it's
also because no one wants to fucking do it.
Exactly.
There's tons of people who want to play football. I would take that risk. You told me right now, like, hey, man, I'll pay you $5 million a year to be on the practice squad or whatever the fuck the practice squad minimum is. And, like, you're going to get your shit rocked every day because you're not good at it anymore. I'd be like, yep.
That's
absolutely.
Exactly why it's double hard. There's a super high level of scarcity. And plus, nobody wants to watch somebody mediocre play a game. We want to see the best in the world.
I watch you play board games all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but the whole world doesn't want to watch me do that.
How do you know?
I mean, there might be a few hundred people. Shit, maybe 1,000 people who would watch that.
That want to watch you play board games?
I'm talking about a world-class athlete who's trained an inconceivable number of hours. You know who fits that profile? Ezekiel Elliott. He's got to be compensated for all that time, all that effort, all that risk, all that scarcity, and also providing entertainment.
Do you think that character ties into contracts? Like, do you think it'd be, like, way easier to give Zeke, like, number one running back in the league money if he wasn't a dickhead off the field?
I think that always plays in. I really do. You know, the world has a giant ripple effect, and when you put good out in the world, I think you get good back. I think we see that for players like Aaron Rodgers. You see that with J.J. Watt. You see that with Chris Long. You know, these guys, they get good contracts. There was never any second guess that they were going to get a good contract. They have a good face in the community. Like Charles Woodson is another person that comes to mind.
Yeah.
When you have that strong, positive personality, I think you can be the best in the game and also be the face of your organization when you are so positive like that.
I just think it's easier to give someone money when they are drama-free and advocates in the community, truly team ambassadors, versus, like, I wouldn't necessarily send Zeke to a high school of kids who are, like, questioning their futures. I wouldn't send him there to give an inspirational talk. Devontae Adams? Yeah, sure, I'd send him there. Charlie Woodson? You bet. Andrew Luck? Sure. Did you ever see Andrew Luck's, like, highlights and stuff? I mean, we'll get to Andrew Luck, but, like, almost every time he got sacked when he was mic'd up, he's like, hey, buddy, good hit. He's like, oh, man, that was a really good one. You're really getting after me this time. He's like the most pleasant person to take down, I guess.
So, I don't know. What is your opinion here? Stop fence-sitting, and let's hear your opinion on this. Every single time that you were going to give your opinion, you have diverged into another topic between Andrew Luck. And then you asked me about, does a man's character affect his ability to get a good contract?
Oh, would you look at this? I have a text, not on the cheese line, but an actual text from my guy Kyle. Kyle says, when will you finally come to terms with your sudden fandom of the Bears? Kyle tried pulling this shit on me the other day at work. All I have to say to you, Kyle, is we'll deal with this at work tomorrow. I'm sorry. I also got another text here. He says, you better take my question seriously.
All right, fine. If I'm going to take it seriously, this may be heresy, but as you know, I lived in Illinois for many years.
It really wasn't that many.
Okay, for a handful of years.
But you are still an Illinois homeowner.
And I continue to be an Illinois homeowner. That's correct. I will occasionally cheer for the Bears when they're not playing against the Packers. I can't help it. I just sometimes watch them.
And with that, you've heard the last line ever of the Gettin Cheezy with Van and Jeezy podcast.
What the fuck?
We're canceling the show from here on out. Goodbye, everyone.
Well, I guess my social life is freed up.
I will cheer for the Bears if it is in a situation where we need them to beat the other team for our advantage.
Look, honestly, I don't like cheering for the Bears as much right now because they don't have any players that I really like. But, I mean, historically, I will. Specifically right now, there's not anyone I really like to watch on that team.
Well, we'll talk about another new issue here later.
Wait, what the actual fuck? Are you going to give an opinion about what's going on with Zeke's contract or not?
Just fucking pay him. Fine.
Can you say that again? I couldn't hear you. Can you say that again?
Just fucking pay him. But then watch yourselves get into a problem when you guys sign Dak to a 40 fucking dumb million contract next year. You're about to have nickels in your pockets and not be able to pay the other 51 players on your team. I'm just saying.
I am more worried about keeping Zeke than Dak.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But again, the problem is that a quarterback sticks around for so long compared to a running back. Now, Zeke has been durable, but for how much longer?
I don't know.
We'll see.
Can you cheese us into the Packers section so I can continue some contract talk?
Because I'm cheesing my way back to you, Van, with a burning cheese inside. It's the Packers section!
I don't know if you had a chance to read this article, but it actually was sent to me by coworker Dan. Thank you, coworker Dan, for doing our research.
Thank you.
It was about the departure of Clay Matthews from Green Bay and the contract discussions between him and the GM. And just in summary, Clay Matthews had approached the GM and said, hey, listen, I'm willing to take a pay cut to play for Green Bay and stay here. GM says, I'm sorry, Clay, we just don't have any money to give you. We have to move on. And then we turn around and sign 2 big-name free agent linebackers. So I think after uncovering this, we may have done Clay Matthews dirty.
I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. This is entertainment. And is it doing him dirty if he's 33 years old? He's got a bit of a decline in performance. And we have a quarterback who's aging, and we have to make decisions. Like, Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback that can take us to a Super Bowl and win it. He could even carry the whole team on his back if he wanted to, but we don't want that. We can't have any extra weight.
And that was my counterpoint to the whole thing is, I agree. You can't have any kind of extra weight, any kind of, I don't want to say liability, but there's a trade-off, and this is another point where I don't envy being a GM. You have a trade-off between keeping your old veteran guys around for leadership and letting the young guys come up and learn. And the second point is that it's a business and it must be run as such, unfortunately. Now, for Clay Matthews to be told there's no room for you here, and then for us to go and sign a couple other dudes, that sounds harsh, but it is a business.
Maybe a little. I mean, he did come here. He did win us a Super Bowl. He's got the ring from Green Bay. Here's the thing. I think the Packers picked up the best players available. The players that we needed most, we went out and we got them. And it's hard to say if it was better to try and make a value out of Clay Matthews versus spending some money on some big-name players. And because we don't have all the numbers, it's hard to know.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't want to discredit how much I love Clay Matthews as a player. Clay Matthews was the first Packers jersey I had bought by myself in my entire life.
Mrs. Jeezy was devastated to hear that there would no longer be a Clay Matthews on the field to watch. She said, but where am I going to catch my man hair flips now?
Send her my regards.
I will.
Can we move on from this one now?
Yeah, I think so. But I just want to say that I don't I hear what you're saying, but I don't think we did him dirty. I think he's old enough to have retired if he wanted to be done playing. And his performance is at a point where he could have retired. I'm not an expert, but I do think that it was time.
I agree as well. It's time to move on. Speaking of moving on, you heard about the 80-yard debacle.
Yes, I did.
That was the dumbest thing. And first off, I was backdoor streaming this shit, right? And all I got was the Raiders feed, which first off, oh my fucking God, it's awful. Second off, it was 2 minutes before kickoff, and they were like, oh yeah, by the way, 80-yard field, not using the end zones, no kickoffs, and we're just going to give everybody the ball at the, I guess it was technically the 30-yard line, which would have been the 20. And that was what was stupid too. It made the fucking math on it all stupid. It was dumb. And if anybody didn't know what the root cause was, this is an international game. They had the Packers and Raiders play in Canada at a field that was part of the Canadian Football League teams. And in Canadian football, they actually have their goalposts in the center of the end zone. And so with that, they had to move the goalposts to the rear of the end zone for the NFL game. And that left a hole in the turf. And if you looked at the photos from it, looks like they went to Hobby Lobby and bought a welcome mat that had fake grass on it and laid it over the hole.
I'm looking at it right now.
It's bad.
And it's just a straight up pothole in the end zone.
Apparently, the last game that was played there was August 15th. You had a week and a half, almost 2 weeks to figure that shit out. That was a mess. Okay, so that's disaster number one. Disaster number two is the prices for tickets were out of control for a preseason game. The lower bowl cost about $330.
What the fuck? Is that American or Canadian?
American.
Whoa.
The cheapest tickets were about $71 in the end zone for a fucking preseason game.
I was in the lower bowl in Baltimore when the Packers played. You know how much that was?
$37.50.
It was about that after tax.
Okay, so fine. Shitty end zone, overinflated price. This was the first time I truly watched preseason football, and I really felt that the game was meaningless. I watch every football game religiously. I watch preseason games, and I feel like, yeah, you're not seeing top-tier talent, but it's still a true football game. And this was the first time I watched a professional football game and said, like, this is a fucking joke. The 80-yard field was ridiculous. Jeezy, all they did, they picked up the pylons and moved them down the field and said, well, these orange things are here now. This is now the end zone. No additional paint on the field, no nothing. It was just like, hey guys, by the way, remember, that's the actual end zone now. So they were at like the 30-yard line going in, and you're like, why the fuck are they running the ball on like 3rd and 4 or whatever when you got tons of field to go? And oh, that's right. The end zone is way closer now. But the goalpost stayed in the same spot.
It's basically visually incomprehensible when you look at it.
So difficult to watch, and I don't know how the players did it either. I feel like if I was a player, I'd have a really hard time like trying to remember what the end zone like was.
And because of this, a very important note, Matt LaFleur decided to not play any starters.
We had 33 people sit. One slight benefit of the 80-yard field, we've been having this discussion on kickoffs for so long. There were no kickoffs. They gave them the ball at whatever yard line it was. And honestly, it was like way better.
It had to be.
It wasn't like it was like a natural flow, right? It wasn't like score, commercial, kickoff, commercial, offense comes on. It was just score, commercial, game.
The kickoff it sucks. It's just a boring ass thing that a lot of people get hurt on.
But now the question, though, too, is you still have to have a method for the scoring team to have an opportunity to repossess the ball.
I like the 4th and 12.
I don't like it.
You don't like the make it, take it? After the score and the point after, the scoring team will receive the ball on their own side of the field, 4th and 12, and they can either punt or go for it. And that gives an approximation of the onside kick. Punts are much safer and more likely to result in a significant play.
Removing kickoffs wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It seemed to flow well enough. More bad stuff. Equinemius St. Brown gets injured. Equinemius is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with an ankle injury. To which my question is, and we talked about this last week, how stacked the receiving core is his job in jeopardy now? Because he's injured, is he potentially on the chopping block because we have so many other good guys that are healthy?
If I'm him, I would definitely be worried about it. We just talked about last week all of the people who are going to be good. Devontae Adams, Geronimo Allison, Kumaro,
Allen Lazard, Darius Shepard,
MVS.
Jamon Moore hasn't really done much, but I'll say another surprise from the game, Trevor Davis. That kid had himself a game. Now, I know it's preseason, but Trevor Davis went off, dude. And, I mean, he's typically known for being our return guy. He's a pretty shifty punt returner, kick returner, fine. But he had a stellar game at wide receiver. I think his performance almost makes him a lock to make the 53.
What about your boy Deshaun Kaiser?
I thought Tim Boyle outplayed the hell out of him.
Tim Boyle.
I think Tim Boyle has locked himself up as the number 2.
You've been pretty high on this Tim Boyle.
I'm just saying, man. Deshaun Kaiser looks constantly rattled. I've said it a million times. He's always trying way too hard. He looks like he's never comfortable back there. And Tim Boyle put together a couple of really solid drives, scoring drives, with some of the best preseason quarterback play in Green Bay I've seen in a long time. 2 takeaways from watching the Packers side of the game, not the shitty-ass field, whatever else. Tim Boyle, I believe, has locked up number 2. Trevor Davis played a great game. I think he's locked up his roster spot. Maybe it's still because it's preseason and we're really running a really vanilla offense. Maybe that's why, but I still really wanted to see more out of the run game. But it's also worth noting that we're playing the Raiders later in the year, so we're not going to reveal too much. I also realized the other day, I think it's this Sunday is the deadline to make the cuts from the 90-man roster down to the 53-man roster. That's so many players. That's 47 people per team that are going to now potentially not have a job. That's 1,504 players.
And also, we reported on this. Sunday starts the very limited clock for the collective bargaining agreement before the Packers game. against the Bears opening the season.
But yeah, it always takes me aback when I realize that almost half of the players in the league are going to probably not have a job. And with that,
oh, it's time for gossip.
I found this article actually today about Gronk and his retirement.
Gronk, is his retirement going well?
Apparently so, because he is partnering with a company named Abacus Inc. to advocate the use of CBD oil for pain relief in sports.
So that's the part of the hemp plant, part of marijuana, that is not the THC portion.
That's correct. I mean, and if you want to, you can go to the CBD store right now and buy some stuff. It's not illegal. There's plenty of CBD stores out there.
I don't know. I've seen it advertised as basically a cure-all for basically everything.
Well, yeah, man, the plants fix everything.
If you have anxiety, it gives you not anxiety. Do you have anxiety about not having anxiety? It can reduce that too. Are you too relaxed? This could give you a small bit of anxiety.
Anyways, he's doing that now, which if you know anything about Gronk, him doing stuff with weed is like, okay, well, that makes sense. It's fucking Gronk. But apparently he was also asked about his retirement. He had to hold off tears twice, and he said he's definitely not returning in the next couple of months, but 3 months to 3 years from now, maybe. He's saying that he loved the game, he loved his fans, but almost the same thing as Andrew Luck mentioned in his retirement. He said, football was bringing me down, and I didn't like it. I was losing the joy in my life. He said he's now pain-free and capable of returning to the NFL, but he's got some mental work to do before a potential return.
And he also says there that he may never be mentally prepared to return to the NFL.
And what's crazy, and I'm sorry, this is an article from PatriotsWire.usatoday.com. During the Super Bowl 53 win, he got a leg contusion, which I guess is just like a big bruise, a big owie.
That shit hurts bad.
Well, this is what it says. He needed 3 procedures to drain 1,000 milliliters of blood from his thigh due to internal bleeding, which he said was a, quote, hospital record. Because of the pain, he could only sleep 20 minutes a night.
A full liter of dead blood drained from his leg?
From his thigh. Take a liter bottle of soda or whatever. Put that shit inside your thigh. Now take it out again. It's half of a big bottle of soda. It's a lot.
It's 2 pints. 2 pints. You ever gone to the bar, gotten a pint of beer?
Yeah.
2 of those. And 2 of those is still not quite a full liter.
And then insert it into your leg. And then draw it back out through a needle.
That sounds horrifying.
If there is anybody who I would say could make a comeback that's recently retired, I would say it would be Gronk.
I mean, he's obviously a freak of nature. And he's still pretty young at only, 30 or 31?
Gronk getting into CBD oil, well, fine. It's fucking Gronk. But I wanted to mostly bring it up, too, because of what we'll talk about later with Andrew Luck. It's crazy. Other gossip news, the XFL. Do you remember the XFL?
Of course I do. We need Vince McMahon. We need to do the Ric Flair walk.
All the ex-wrestlers just playing football.
It's not ex-wrestlers.
It was, pretty much. But the XFL is coming back. And it just unveiled the names and logos of the 8 franchises that will compile its launch. St. Louis Battlehawks, the Tampa Bay Vipers, New York Guardians, Seattle Dragons, Los Angeles Wildcats, DC Defenders, Dallas Renegades, and Houston Roughnecks. Just as a reference, in 2001, the XFL had a different number of teams. They had the Birmingham Thunderbolts, Chicago Enforcers, New York/New Jersey Hitmen, which is kind of, I think, not okay. The Orlando Rage, Las Vegas Outlaws, Los Angeles Extreme.
With an X.
That's X-Treme. The Memphis Maniacs, with an X.
No C. Looks like a prescription medicine that you find at the corner store.
Hi, yes, I need some prescription Maniacs, please. No, I've got a really bad cold. I need some Maniacs. And the San Francisco Demons. Either way, these team names suck. And the logos are fucking lame.
Tell me how you really feel.
The team names suck, and the logos are lame.
I'm just saying, I like the name the St. Louis Battlehawks. I think that's a cool name. I mean, the Los Angeles Wildcats is like a basic-ass name.
Yeah, but that logo sucks. It's like every other Los Angeles logo where they have an L and an A. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even look like a cat. It's just LA. The Renegades is literally a shield with stars on it. The Roughnecks looks like a fucking oil tanker, like an oil rig. The best one in my opinion, Seattle Dragons. But it sucks. It's stupid. I don't like it. It's lame. And I don't expect this league to pan out either, honestly.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the St. Louis Battlehawks also have the best logo. I do like the Guardians. They have like a Sphinx head. The Houston Roughnecks is obviously an oil tower. The Renegades are okay. I mean, these are obvious, like, the Dallas Renegades, it's like, that's just the Cowboys. They just used a synonym. Their logo is a, like, zombie cowboy. The Houston Roughnecks are just genuinely the Oilers.
The Houston Oilers.
The LA Wildcats, I don't know. They just gave it Wildcats because you can put that on anything. And then the other things are all just kind of like comic booky.
I think it's kind of dumb.
Just fine. 8 teams of semi-pros out there playing.
Well, XFL, we'll see what the fuck happens.
See what the fuck happens. That sounds right.
Speaking of seeing what the fuck happens, I'm going to take my way over because I know everybody has been hanging on the edge of their seats about this one. We've been mentioning it the entire episode about Andrew Luck's retirement. We've actually got 2 good questions about it. One from Dirty Dan, and I've got another question here from Kyle, a not asshole question.
What's Kyle's question?
Well, first, I just want to kind of summarize. Andrew Luck retired this weekend. He came out with the announcement. He had intended on informing the team after the game, but social media leaked it during the game while he's on the sideline, not suited up during the preseason game. And his own fans booed him off the field. The last time Andrew Luck took the field and walked off, it was his own fans booing him. I've heard that Indianapolis fans are asking to have their season tickets refunded. And what Andrew Luck says in his post-game conference, in a nutshell, is kind of what I was mentioning about Gronk earlier. He said he goes through a cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab. And he said it was taking the joy out of the game. It was really taking the fun out of the life. And he said he wants to give it 100%, but he just couldn't anymore.
Did you watch the press conference?
I did not, but I read most of the transcript.
And when you watch it, he's obviously got a mixture of feelings going on. But what I've got to say is he starts it out very positive. He thanks so many people. You can see that it wasn't a decision he entered into lightly, and he was nothing but positive. But the thing I think that was telling is that he said he had been in this situation before. Andrew Luck's list of injuries he's got more than one career-ending injury on his list.
Over the past 4 years, lacerated kidney, busted ribs, concussion, bum shoulder, and a stubborn leg problem. A lacerated kidney is serious enough.
He's had things that are more than enough to be done.
The most telling statement he makes, and I'll say kind of scary statement he makes, is, "It's been unceasing and unrelenting, both in season and in the off season. I felt stuck in it, and the only way I see out is to no longer play football. It's taking my joy of this game away." A star player saying that he feels stuck in the game and the only way out is to retire is, to me, a pretty harrowing statement.
Andrew Luck promised himself a better life. We're talking about a multi-millionaire who made a point to give themselves a better life. He's got the financial freedom, he's got all of that he's ever wanted, except he's got all this external pressure to perform for his city, for his fans, for himself, and he finally empowered himself to do this. And I think that was very courageous, very brave, but very difficult, very, very difficult. You never want to see somebody throw their lives away on anything, and if he's up to it, maybe we'll see him come back, but if not, I think that's okay. I think he's seen enough of his body to not need to take any more.
I don't think Andrew Luck will come back.
I really don't.
I think he's made a decision, he's done. But I also think that players are starting to get more self-aware and more wise about what's going on with the game and taking care of themselves better and planning for their future more. Like this article, for instance, mentions Martellus Bennett, retired last year after winning the Super Bowl with the Patriots. He said, "Football doesn't care about players. Players are starting to realize that more and more. The game gets what it needs from you and then moves on. Now players are getting what they need from the game and moving on. It's fucking up the ecosystem. I think between Martellus Bennett saying that, the game gets what it needs and then moves on, and Andrew Luck saying he felt stuck in it, and what Gronk mentioned about, the joy being taken away from him, it's kind of bringing to light the severity of, what's going on with these players physically and the toll it's taking on them mentally.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely not understate that.
But I do want to answer Kyle's question here. As a Panthers fan, will Cam Newton ever win a Super Bowl? And should we be thankful that Andrew Luck decided to return back to school that year instead of being drafted by the Panthers?
I would argue that maybe, just maybe, that if Andrew Luck had been there, they might have been able to win that Super Bowl where Cam Newton got afraid of the football because they might have had a Super Bowl ring in the last, 5 years, I guess, if Andrew Luck had been there.
I think that's what Kyle's asking. Does Cam win a Super Bowl in his future? He's been in the league, 7 years now?
Yeah, something like that.
I honestly, at this point, I say no, Cam doesn't get one.
I think if you give Andrew Luck that supporting cast that Cam Newton has had over the years, there's a chance he might have just gotten that ring for you.
I agree.
To say that Andrew Luck is anything less than the real deal is just a short to Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck had basically a full-on sieve as an offensive line, and if he had any kind of protection, things might have been different. The Colts basically provided like one of those 6-inch white garden fences as an offensive line, and the players just stepped over it and crushed him over and over.
Basically, and he won a lot of games just from true grit. But
yeah, absolutely.
I've been seeing a lot of articles saying that he is a Hall of Fame talent.
Who's a Hall of Fame talent?
Andrew Luck. Look at this. 86 career games. He went 53 and 33. Completion percentage of 60.8. 23,671 yards. 171 touchdowns. 83 picks. Quarterback rating of 89.5 overall.
It's significantly above average.
I just don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he was very good, and I think it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see more of him with the injuries and stuff, and the potential he could have had. But I think based on his body of work, he is not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Look, I don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. No, is he someone that you can reminisce about being a quarterback on your team doing good things? Yeah, I think so. I think you can. But is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? Probably not.
To me, it falls in the category of this is before we were conscious enough to be sports fans. But Sterling Sharp for the Packers, one of the best players in the league when he played, injury cut his career short, and because of that, won't ever make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good analogous description. I don't want to sell Cam Newton short because I honestly think he's good, but he does not have the grit that Andrew Luck has. And I think had he been in Carolina with that staff and everything, it would have made all the difference. Now, Cam Newton is an excellent quarterback, I think, but there's no ring. I would consider a good staff there. He's had targets there. I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be Carolina's turn.
I'm not a huge fan of rings for greatness metric, but I do agree that they've had some good teams. Cam has not gotten one, and I don't think he'll get one in the next 4 or 5 years. I don't necessarily see Cam getting a ring before it's his time. And I do feel that, you put Andrew Luck on the Panthers and he's got at least one Super Bowl in him. And who knows, if you put Cam on the Colts, maybe they're a better team too. I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say. So let's move on to Dirty Dan's text message here, loaded with booby traps and all kinds of tripping hazards. Here's what he says. With Andrew Luck surprise retiring at a young age and being one of the better quarterbacks in the league, if Aaron Rodgers retires tomorrow the same way, how do you feel about that?
Unlike the fans in Indianapolis, I would respect the decision. You'd be sad. You'd be sad about it. You'd be upset, but you don't boo him off the field. You thank him for the good times, and you respect the decision to take care of yourself as a human being rather than put yourself through pain and misery for entertainment. That's the Van officially stamped opinion.
I have to agree. I think in Green Bay, Well, for one thing, Aaron is also another player with true grit, regardless of what anyone says. And he's also gotten the ring with us and been there a long time. So the circumstances aren't exactly the same. But nonetheless, even if they were 100% equivalent, I think the city of Green Bay, the fan base of the Packers, would be significantly more classy about it. How would I end up feeling about that? That definitely turns this into a rebuilding year. We're looking at Deshaun Kaiser, Tim Boyle, or somebody that's not on our roster right now.
But do you think our defense has improved enough to the point where a mediocre quarterback could keep us in games?
It's TBD. It's definitely not that Broncos defense of a few years ago. It's not the Bears defense of last year. It's too early to tell. You need at least a few games just to let them work as a cohesive unit at full speed. So the answer to that is I don't know, but I don't think they're to that level that we've seen other teams be and have a lackluster offense that they can just carry. So I'll say that if Aaron Rodgers retires, I would expect a very classy kind of situation. I think we would take this and make something good of it.
I'll read Dirty Dan's second question here. He says, say it was always Tom Brady's dream to be a Packer. Would you be happy if Green Bay turned around and brought him on?
That would be following an assumed Rodgers retirement.
Can I answer the question first?
Go.
I would not be happy.
You would not be happy? I
would be not happy. I hate Tom Brady so much. Now I would still watch the games. I would still be a Packers fan till the day I die. But if we brought on Tom Brady, I would be quite upset.
I have two thoughts that come to mind. The first is how did the Minnesota Vikings feel when they got Brett Favre?
Probably awesome, because whoever the fuck they had before that was awful.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we would be going from Deshaun Kaiser, Tim Boyle, or unknown, unnamed quarterback at this time to Tom Brady. I think I'll be fucking jacked.
But what if it was Aaron Rodgers retires, Tom Brady comes in tomorrow?
I think I'd be fucking jacked about that.
No.
If I have a belief that right now with Rodgers we're a Super Bowl contender team, and then Aaron Rodgers retires, I immediately no longer think that. And then if an all-pro, one of the great quarterbacks in the league right now, steps in and does that, I'm like, yeah, we've got a real shot to still make it to the Super Bowl.
Well, you got to rewrite the entire playbook for checkdowns then.
Yeah, but that's easy.
All right, 3-yard dump-offs. Everybody, ready? Break.
I'd be all about it. Honestly, I'd be about it because I think we're a Super Bowl contending team, and if Aaron goes, we wouldn't be, and if Tom stepped in, again, I think I would feel that we were again. I'm not saying he's better than Rodgers. This is a person who has basically unmatched experience. There's no quarterback who has as much experience in the league as him. He's got a very strong desire to win. And look, he can make those short passes when it's got to be made. I'm down. I am down.
If I had to answer Dirty Dan's question in a succinct statement, the answer would be no. I would not be happy if Green Bay turned around and brought Tom Brady on.
Not now. Not ever.
Exactly. And his last question, I've already touched on. Do you think Luck will stay retired?
Yes.
I have to agree. He's a Stanford kid. He's smart. He knows.
He is actually a very smart guy.
I could see him coming back as a coach.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see him coming back as a coach.
I don't see him playing again.
Well, with that, you've been listening to Gettin Cheezy with Van and Jeezy.
I'm Van.
And I'm Jeezy.
Thanks to our two friends who texted in on the cheese line, 980-224-3399, 9802-CHEESY with a Z. As always, you can check us out on Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, cheesypodcast.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Check us out at all those places, and like I said, be sure to call us, text us whenever you want. We're always here for you.
Because we love you guys.
Hit us up on that cheese line bling, 980-224-3399.
That's 980-2-CHEESY.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Much love, y'all. Bye.